Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, a Commander 17 set review.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Commander 17 official Commander's Brew set review. We're here. The full Commander 17 spoiler is out and alive.
Oh yeah, the decks are not for sale yet.
No.
But we have the lists and we know which cards are new. And we're going to deviate from our typical episode pattern for this. Normally we like to do set reviews as like a bonus episode that doesn't interrupt the regular flow, but this was a special one. We thought we'd just put this in as normal. So we're going to take a pause on our Commander's burns. So keep those burns for Azar's Electrocutors. We're going to come back to that next week.
That's right.
But as always, brought to you by you, the listener, through patreon.com. Brought to you by the Wizard's Tower. Brought to you by Ultimate Guard sleeves and boxes. Check us out on Twitch every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Toronto time. Yeah. Is that all the biz?
That's the biz. You know,
Yeah,
and today we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're just going to get right into it, I think, right?
I mean, we'll play one ad from the Wizard's Tower.
Of course.
And then, yeah, when we come back, we'll just dive into all the brand new cards for Commander.
Oh, hi there. I'm a turtle, and I'm sad. Because I thought I was gonna be one of the tribes in the new Commander sets, but I guess I'm not. Maybe we're not cool enough to be in there because we're not wizards or something, but you know, we got shells and we got huge toughness and low power. I mean, maybe do some sort of Doran thing with like a blue thing. I don't know, make us like a super turtle. I mean, we could do lots of stuff only slow, you know? But you know it's not slow? Getting cards shipped to you from the Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. If you order $15 in singles, they'll ship them for free to Canada or the US. And if you use coupon code Tower of Brews, you'll get another 5% off. That's a good deal. Also, 3% kickback for your next order. Well, you know, that's enough to make me come out of my shell. See, I do jokes too. I should really be in this set. Really dropped the ball on this one, WOCT.
Well, there it is. Wizard's Tower. Yeah, go there. Tower of Brews, as always. Guys, I'm stoked. It's Commander. It's like Christmas came early this year because our Christmas kind of quite literally did come early this year, right?
Yeah, we expect these sets like, I don't know, November. I don't even remember.
Yeah, right. Usually they come around Christmas.
Yeah, because it often makes my letter to Santa.
That's how I've been getting the decks. True. Like I've been getting them through Christmas presents always. So yeah, absolutely.
Boy.
But it's here. It's summertime. It's Christmas in the summer. It's August. We got a boatload of new cards, and let's start talking about this set. C17, of course, we all know it's a little different this year. We got 4 Commander sets, or Commander decks, rather, and they're all based around tribal mechanics.
Yeah, they didn't try to cycle like a certain number of colors or wedges, and they're just like, hey, how about 4 tribes? Done.
I like it, too. I think it's a great idea. At this point... Like, spoiler alert on what we think about the set, but at this point, I kind of wish they did the 5th one, but still, very, very pleased to see it take like kind of a different route. But we'll get our overall thoughts sort of at the end of the review, though.
Sure. It also makes me think like, hey man, who needs themes? Just give us a bunch of decks every year. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Give me 4 or 5 decks. Sure, sounds great.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, you got new cards in them? Excellent. That's all. You know.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So the way we're going to run this down, we're going to talk about all the cards. The first batch of cards is the ones we're going to talk about that are from multiple decks. So because this is kind of a different setup of the, you know, of how they do it. We're going to talk about the tribal cards at like per deck. So dragons, cats, wizards, and vampires. But there's a couple of cards, and only a few new ones, that is, that are spread across all 4 decks, right? And by the way, we are only talking about reviewing the new cards this episode. The old cards, you can, I don't know, there's so many of them. Like, we're not going to review a bunch of old sets, right? So
also we're gonna do like episodes where we like upgrade, in a budget style some of the decks anyway. So we'll hit a lot of those cards then too.
Exactly. You'll get our thoughts on those as those episodes come in the future. But for now, we're here to talk about these new cards, and we're gonna start with the Curse Cycle. There it is, the Curse Cycle. Curse of Vitality is the first one we're working with here. It's 2 and a white. It's an enchantment or a curse. They are all aura curses that enchant a player, so we'll just not read that every time. Whenever a enchanted player is attacked, you gain 2 life. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. Now, personally, when I read this, I was a little confused by that wording.
Yes, I had to read it a bunch of times.
Yeah, and actually, I did read it a bunch of times and still didn't understand it. I had to get it explained to me on Reddit. So, the way it works is, so it's just like the old curses. You pick a player, you go on it. Now, every time someone attacks that player, you gain 2 lives, and your opponents will do it. But every time your opponents do it, you also do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like,
yes,
I attack him, I gain 2 life. Sean attacks him. Sean gains 2 life, and I gain 2 life.
The confusing phrasing is when they say each opponent attacking that player, because only one player has an attack phase at any time. So, like, there can't be, like, I guess if you're talking multiplayer, like Two-Headed Giant, I guess that's why it's worded that way. So it works on Two-Headed Giant. Yeah. Anyway, the whole point of the curses is you always benefit when the curse hits in, and so does the attacking player.
Right.
Great.
And that's a good upgrade to the way the curses that we saw as printed in Commander worked previously. Because, like, there's the old curse. I mean, I remember the only one that was really any good was the one that gave you zombies. But that only gave the attacking person zombies every time.
Yes. Right. Or the one that gains, I thought you were going to say the one that gives you +1/+1 counters on your attacking creatures.
Yeah, I guess that one's good in more narrow decks, I think, right? Only +1/+1 counter decks would really care about that one. But yeah, you're right. That one's decent as well. So yeah, Curse of Vitality is the first one. Let's just read them all and then maybe go through it. What do you think about that? Is that fine?
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, we'll give you the mana cost, the color, and like what the thing everyone gets is.
Right.
So Curse of Vitality, 2 and a white, and you gain 2 life on attacks.
Yeah. Curse of Verbosity is 2 and a blue, and you draw a card.
Great. That's the blue. The black one is 2 and a black. Are they all 2 and a black? 2 and a whatever?
It looks like it.
You get a 2/2 zombie token.
And the red one is Curse of Opulence, and it says, whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a colorless artifact token named Gold, and it's the sacrifice it at any color to your mana pool. So oddly enough, the red one is the ramping one.
Yeah, that's weird.
Also notable, though, that gold is an artifact. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's only a single red.
That's true. Sorry, yeah, it's a single red. It's not 2 and a red. It is just
the pattern just happened to break when we brought it up. Curse of Bounty is 1 and a green, 2 CMC. You untap all non-land permanents you control. That's a pretty interesting one.
That one is interesting. So they've improved this from the previous way the curses worked, just in the mechanics wise, right? It looks to me like they've improved even the abilities. So, like, untapping all your permanents is crazy good.
Yeah.
I think this Curse of Opulence, the red one, is a little better than it looks. And, ramping, sure, why not, right?
So good for mono red.
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly what mono red needs.
So you got that. You've got the zombie one is always good. The drawing cards is great. The white one is obviously the least good, but, in specific decks that want to gain life, it can be very good.
Yeah, like life gain decks want those triggers, so that's a lot of triggers.
Here's my problem with them. Okay, so
yeah.
They've made them too good now, I think. Mm-hmm. Because so let's just take this untapped permanence one, the Curse of Bounty, for example, the green one. No one's going to attack this person because now I'm going to get to untap everything every turn. Like,
Yeah.
the idea is you want to get people to attack them. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I can untap all my permanents. But every time I do it, like, Sean, you get to untap your permanents, and so that means you'll get 4 or 5 untaps, or 3 or 4 rather, in an average commander game, and I get the 1.
Right. The curse controller has too much to gain, so it might be actually a deterrent from attacking the holder of the curse.
It could very well be a deterrent. I think the green one will deter people, and I think the blue one will deter people.
Well, now what happens if you put it on yourself? So if I put it on myself, then you attack me, you untap your stuff, but so do I. So maybe that's like a decent middle ground where it's like, I mean, you're going to have to attack me eventually, but when you do, we both get stuff. So, attack at your own risk.
You lose out on the guaranteed one from when you get to attack that player, though. That's the only problem.
True.
But you're right, though, that it could work that way.
I mean, it might be nice to get a zombie token when everyone attacks you. That's pretty convenient.
Yeah, that's a nice one, yeah. It's very interesting. I say that they might be too good, but at the same time, I think the tempt cycle is also like, whatever, no one would ever agree to this. And everybody always does. So maybe it's not, and Ristic Study, no one ever pays for Ristic Study. So like
I pay.
Listen, we're all starting to come around on paying for Ristic Study, as we will eventually all come around on the tempt cycle too.
Do you know why I pay for Ristic Study?
Why?
Because I don't have a Ristic Study, and I don't want other people to benefit from it because I don't get to benefit from it. So I'm just no.
It's just pure spite for you.
Spite. I guess it's spite tax.
Spite tax. So I mean, that being said, whether they're too good or not, I think these are very interesting, and I like that they at least tried to up their game when it comes to this type of card. But Sean, what do you think about these?
Well, okay, so my biggest complaint is sort of a deck design complaint. And you'll see this will come up again. If you buy all 4 of the decks, if you look at all 4 of the decks, each color of curse appears exactly twice. So they spread out all 5 curses perfectly even to like 1 in 2 decks. So it just seems kind of like lazy deck building to me. And a lot of these aren't particularly amazing in that thing. Like, you're telling me the green one that untaps, that's not in the Wizards one because it's not in that color identity. That's the kind of the deck it belongs in. So like, it seems like there was very little thought as a holistic deck thing. They're just like, hey, how about curses? What does green do? Cool. Red? Cool. White? Cool. Put 1 in 2 decks, 50% of them, and ship it. It's like, I don't know, man. You're not making decks. You're just adding cards.
That's true. I'm guessing someone came up with this idea for the cycle, and they were like, okay, yeah, let's put it in. But then but I think this is where they just wanted to make a general commander card that's good, or a cycle of them rather, and then
yeah,
you know what I mean.
I guess that's the way you have to do it. Like, if you just want to make a good cycle, you can't make it deck dependent. But like, it just burns me. Like, the cat tribal weapons deck probably has a lot of vigilance. They probably don't need the Curse of Bounty as much. Whereas the Wizards, who certainly cannot play it, definitely want that card. It just burns me.
Like, it almost feels like they could have made this make more sense with the tribes. Like, Curse of Bounty could have put out cats, right? Like, Curse of Opulence could, or one, like the blue one could have maybe untapped all permanents or something. I don't know.
But then you get into the problem where like I do appreciate some non-tribal cards, because if you don't, for those of us who don't, like, I don't think I'll probably have many more than one tribal deck. I mean, I'm going to get a couple of these, so I'll have those tribal decks. But now that I say that, I'm probably going to make them less tribal and just other stuff anyway. I don't know. It's weird. I don't want too many tribal things. I'm grateful for some non-tribal cards, but I just don't love how they slapped them in.
All right, yeah, I think they're interesting, and whatever. It's one cycle. Well, I don't know. Are these worth running in commander decks though? I think some of them are. I think maybe the green and the blue ones are pretty good, and then the other ones are specific enough that they're yeah.
And I think the right move might be to put it on yourself in a lot of cases.
Well, it depends. I think
sure.
That might more depend on your meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
okay.
Let's move on. We got some more cards here. We're still going on cards that
we didn't talk about the art at all.
Oh, that's right. That one dude.
I am so baffled by the choice to make this one guy the curse guy. I don't understand it at all.
Well,
Whose choice
I
is
mean,
it? Was it the artist's choice? Were they like, hey, make it one guy who keeps getting screwed over big time? I don't know. Does it
and it
tie to
doesn't
the
even-
unset that's coming out? Right? Like,
oh, maybe.
that's what some people are anticipating, but yeah. Anyways,
He's in Innistrad, right?
it looks like it.
Like
Yeah.
there's like pitchforks and like wolves. Like
Yeah.
I think he's in Innistrad, so it's like I don't know anyone in Innistrad who needs a face that we didn't learn about yet. Like it's almost like he's like the comic relief joke guy where like, oh no, something bad's happening to him again.
It kind of looks like a humanized version of Tybalt.
Oh yeah, like before Tybalt became like a devil.
demon and then a planeswalker. Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't that be funny
Okay.
if all the curses made him into Tybalt? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Anyways,
neat.
okay, let's move on from the curses and into the one other. There's only one other colored card. That's a new colored card that shows up in more than one deck in these sets. And Sean, why don't you go ahead and read it? There.
Sure. Bloodline Necromancer, 4 and a black. It's a 3/2 vampire wizard with lifelink. Not an amazing deal for the stats, for the cost, but when Bloodline Necromancer enters the battlefield, you may return target vampire or wizard creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think we can figure out why this is in 2 decks, because it affects vampires and wizards.
Yeah.
What a bizarre inclusion.
But yeah, exactly. It's the inclusion of the card. It's not the inclusion itself. It's the inclusion of just this one that's across multiple decks. Like, what?
Right. It affects. It's a new card that affects 2 specific tribes that are both in the sets. It's very weird. I think, is there not another card that affects like wizards and vampires, or like wizards and like there? This has happened before.
Yeah, like it's strange, right? Like there's a cat dragon, but it's not in the cat deck colors.
Oh no, I mean a card that like refers to all wizards and merfolk get +1/+1 or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They do cross tribes,
Yes.
but the fact that they decided to do that on a newly printed card is baffling to me. Like, so then why doesn't a card get to say all cats and all dragons, right?
There is some synergy, as you will see going forward in the set, but it's just kind of interesting to me that this is kind of the only one that stands out in this way, right? It's the mono-colored. Anyway, so but Bloodline Necromancer though, pretty fine in those decks.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, I'll take some recursion.
Recursion, and I mean, you recur this card. You know, it recurs another one. It becomes essentially a karmic guide for these 2 tribes, which is neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some colorless cards, some artifacts that appear in more than one deck. These you'll notice have more of a general tribal theme where they just want the deck to have tribal synergy, but it doesn't matter what.
Right.
The first one up is Heirloom Blade, 3 generic for an artifact equipment. It equips for 1 generic. Equipped creature gets +3/+1. That's pretty big. This hits really hard. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type with it. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's sort of like a little bit of a evolutionary leap, kind of. Only it's got to be the same tribe.
Yeah, it has to be the same tribe. I do like that the equip cost is 1.
And I do like that it really pumps the power. So
Yeah.
like this means you're going to want to get into combat with it.
Yeah.
And if they choose not to block, sure, just pay that 1 and equip it to another small thing and be ready to block if they want.
I like this a lot better in, like, I can't remember which one this comes in. Can you? I meant to actually note that.
Yes,
but
I wrote it down. This one appears in the Vampires Tribal, and it appears in Cat Tribal.
all right, so it makes sense that it shows up in cats. Cats really love the equipment. I really like it in the Vampire Tribal because it's maybe the first or second most like graveyardy deck, right? So this will help you dump a get a vampire in your graveyard and then get another one. So like that's exactly what a black based, you know, black and blue. I was thinking wizards even more so, but you know, any tribal deck that wants to do that sort of thing, this card's going to be great in. Other than that, I don't know. I don't love it so much. I think it's fine, but
Yeah, if
whatever.
you're not tribal, you don't run it. So.
I think we're basically, yes, you're right. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, these are going to appeal to tribal. These types, the things we're just talking about off the top here, right? The guys that are in multiple decks.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay,
what's next?
Next, we got Herald's Horn. It's 3 generic mana for an artifact. It says, as Herald's Horn enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 colorless, or 1 generic less to cast, which is great. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Now this
card's great.
Now this is a tribal card. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is great. It reduces your cost. It's specific to your tribe, but it's also like as for the good of general commander. It goes in any tribal deck. It's not just one type. And it's just getting you cards at the beginning of your upkeep. It's just extra card advantage. It's fantastic.
Sure.
Herald's Horn. I love it. And I'm guessing this is Herald right here.
This is Herald. Yeah. You know what? Harold was intimidated by the size of that horn.
Yeah.
Never thought he'd be able to play it, but he practiced every day.
Yeah.
And now Harold can play that horn.
Harold can play that horn. He knows how to do it.
I think Harold might be a lady.
I think in this case it looks like Harold is a lady. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next we got Mirror of the Forebears. 2 generic for an artifact. As it enters, choose a creature type as usual, and then for a single generic, no taps until the end of a turn. Mirror of the Forebears becomes a copy of target creature you control of the chosen type, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types.
I'm into it. I think it's pretty good. I think look at how what's the card from Hour of Devastation right now?
I was just gonna look it up. Won't we? Isn't that just always better though?
Oh, I think so. But this is gonna look weird on the old on the YouTube video.
Yeah, I don't know how to mirror something about a mirror.
Yeah, I did just search for the word mirror and didn't.
Mirage Mirror.
Okay. Yeah, there.
Yeah, I think Mirage Mirror. It costs more to cast. It costs 1 more to cast, and it costs 1 more to activate. Both of them don't retain the ability, so once it's transformed, it has to stay as that thing until the end of turn. Okay. But Mirage Mirror also lets you do lands, also lets you do artifacts, also let you do enchantments, and you can do creatures of that other players control. I don't know. Because how often are you going to want to swap it around? I don't know.
I think it's worth it because there's a lot of tribes, not just the ones that they've printed here, but there's excellent creatures in tribes that have great activated abilities, and to be able to get 2 of those is awesome sometimes.
But Mirage Mirror, I still don't see why you wouldn't just pick Mirage Mirror so that you have the option of becoming.
Why do you need to pick one over the other? They're not mutually exclusive.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
This is cheaper though. If you want to talk about the differences, right? Like it's only
sure.
1 to do it, which can make a difference.
That's true.
Yeah, comparatively, I think Mirage Mirror is a better card, but if we're talking about tribal decks, I think this is a decent inclusion in most of them.
Indeed.
Especially if you have a lot of ability, like maybe triggered abilities, not talking about enter the battlefield, obviously, but like I know the dragons are really going to love this card. Like if you have a Dragon Lord, they have a lot of triggered abilities on attacks. If you got an Utvera Hellkite out there, the dragons are going to love having another one of those. So
yeah, it's in Wizards and Dragons.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So and Wizards have all the activated abilities, and dragons often trigger on attacks. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So again, the other one's better, not from this set, but I think this is fine. A fine inclusion in a lot of tribal decks.
Okay.
Next up, we have the land that appears in all
4.
All 4. This one appears in all 4 of the decks. It's Path of Ancestry. Path of Ancestry enters the battlefield tapped. And then you can tap it to add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you scry 1.
Yeah.
Great. Sure. Right?
Now, with that wording, does that also work when you cast your commander? Does your commander share a creature type with your commander?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
So do you run this
every time? Every time.
Like even if you're not tribal?
Yeah. Right,
because it's still another command tower.
It's well, not quite because it enters tapped. Right, it's more like a tri-land almost.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I think in obviously in 3-color decks it is a tri-land. And the bonus of that, yeah, maybe once in a while you will share creature type, I think is worth it. I think you're going to find this in a lot of commander decks.
I mean, this amps up any tribal deck. Like, if you're dropping multiple creatures and scrying all the time, like, you're going to dig, you're going to pitch away lands or draw lands as you need it. And then once you're good, you're going to scry away things that aren't your tribal creatures. And it's just going to make you go even faster. I think this card is fantastic for a tribal deck. Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's even worthy of being included. I mean, worthy of being included in just about any deck, even if it's not tribal.
I think so too.
Like, take out, like, if you're ever running Rupture Spire or those other ones, like Path of Ancestry is just way better.
I guess so.
It is for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't cost you. Yep.
Okay, so those are the only ones that are appearing. The new cards that are appearing throughout the decks.
Yes, in more than one deck. Now we're going to break down some decks. We're going to go deck by deck and just talk about some of the new cards that are in them specific to that deck only. These are one-ofs out of the 4 decks. And we're going to start with the legendaries.
That's right.
Those are the coolest.
Yes.
So let's start with the biggest, baddest deck, the dragons. First up is the Dragon. 4, Wooburg. Legendary Dragon Avatar, 10/10. And if you'll notice in the art, they don't use scale birds, they use scale dragons in there.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Someone else made that comment on Twitter. That's not my original idea.
That is
so this is the first time we're going to talk about Eminence. As long as the Dragon is in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 generic less. It has flying, and whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, and you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. What?
Yeah, it's insanity.
What?
So
it's great.
So let's just break it down here. So, Eminence.
Okay.
Eminence is the only new mechanic, right? In these sets.
As far as I
think
so. I think so.
So Eminence will have an effect when the creature's on the battlefield or whether it's out of the battlefield. It's basically the Alloro.
The dreaded Alloro effect.
And I will say this: I do not like it. I don't like it. I think it's fine on, like, if they printed it once as a thing, it's an anomaly. Okay, fine, sure. Listen, let's all admit though that was overpowered and they shouldn't have made it on Alloro. But now they have Eminence, and now it's for everything. So, and it's different Eminence. It's not always reducing the mana cost, right?
No, Eminence has its own. Eminence just means it works all the time.
Exactly.
I think they learned a little bit from their last lesson. I also don't like the idea of something doing something for free. In my opinion, Eminence should have came with a drawback like a conspiracy card or something where, like, maybe your maximum hand size is reduced by 1. Or maybe you skip your first draw step or something. I don't know. But, like, make us pay for Eminence in some way. But then I started thinking about it. I was listening to discussions. They sort of do make you pay in the sense that Alloro is just dirty life gain no matter what. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're just gaining life all the time. At least with the Dragon, for example, and we'll bring this up each time Eminence appears, it does require you to build your deck around it. You don't just get free stuff for nothing.
True.
If it said all creatures cost 1 less, that would be super dirty. Right.
Yes, yeah.
But at least this way we are restricted to dragons.
Sure. Okay, that's true. That is I guess a way to offset it, but it still doesn't change the fact that I build a dragon tribal deck, I build it 5 colors, I get an automatic bonus over all the other decks that I'm playing against.
Right. There's all those other creatures that make dragons cheaper, those little, like, goblins and stuff, but those can be killed. You can deal with those. You can never stop Eminence.
Yeah, you can't stop the Dragon just from sitting in the command zone. I really think you need to have to pay for your commander for it to help your deck.
Yeah, what if it was a thing where how would you feel about a commander that instead of Eminence, the first time it enters the battlefield, you get an emblem. So it's kind of Eminence, but you have to at least cast it once to get it.
I really think emblems would be a good way to do it. Yeah. Or like the first time your dragon connects with a player or something.
Sure. So I'm okay doing it emblem style because at least you have to do anything to get it.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be worth the setup for it and everything because then it has a permanent ability that lasts throughout the game.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of a crazy thing that they only do with Planeswalkers Ultimates, right? So, or that one Gideon. Anyways, but yeah, I just think that to just choose this card as your commander you don't ever have to cast it for it to have a very good effect on your deck. I think that's a bit too much.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this again because you have to restrict your brew. Maybe it will still be competitive and it won't it's dirty, but you can't break it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Let's talk about some dragons.
Let's see. Okay.
Let's see. Yeah.
But,
Let's talk about its ability first.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay. That's just the eminence part of it. Yeah. So this thing costs 9 and it's a 10/10. So it's tough to cast. Period. So I think most people who are running this are not even really counting on casting it.
Well, you know what I think? Okay, here's what I think. I think this is all a trick anyway. I don't think you run the Dragon as your commander. I think you run Sion like always, and then you turn it into the Dragon to get that attack trigger at instant speed.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Right? Because whenever one of our dragons you control attacks, draw that many cards. I'm going to draw 4 or 5 cards. They're all 7 drops, and I get to put one into the battlefield for free? Are you kidding me?
It's nuts.
This guy's nuts. I love it. The Timmy and me loves this card.
Yeah, I think Timmy's everywhere are pretty much rejoicing over this guy.
Timmies are shredding their stripy orange shirts and their propeller beanies. They're just like shredding them.
So I think overall, I think aside from the fact that I think Eminence is kind of too good, I think I actually really like his other ability, even though it's also super bananas. But it's okay. It costs 9 mana to cast him, and then Wooburg and everything. It's like, oh man, it's nuts. So I'm fine with that ability, even though it is also crazy.
Yes, I love it. I mean, the Dragon has to be crazy.
Exactly, right? His Sion is pretty crazy.
I know his Sion is already so crazy. He had to be, they didn't let us down. Like the Dragon had to be enormous. So great. Next up, what do you got?
O-Kagachi, Vengeful Kami. 1 and Wooburg, so 6 in total for a legendary dragon spirit. It's a 6/6 with flying and trample. Notably, it's like super long name. Definitely made them squish the text a bit, which I know they hate doing. Flying and trample. Whenever O-Kagachi Vengeful Kami deals combat damage to a player, if that player attacked you during his or her last turn, exile target non-land permanent that player controls.
Yeah.
So
brutal.
I mean, 6 mana, 6/6 flying trample, very good, right? Just off the bat, pretty good. You got to pay Wooburg, which can be tough, but if you're there, if you got a good mana base, you're gonna hit it. This not only has to deal combat damage to a player, which flying and trample is usually pretty easy to make that happen. The player has to have attacked you. So like the good side, no one's going to attack you when you have O-Kagachi out, right?
That's great.
But also if they have enough defense, they're gonna, maybe they will start to attack you, and then maybe you can pull a trick and get their stuff. So I think this guy is, I don't know, I'm a little torn on this card. I think it can be very, very good, but I think there's some setup here that needs to happen, which
I agree, and I think that setup is haste. If you have something that can grant your creatures haste on the battlefield, then it becomes a real issue.
Yeah.
Because, and that's it. I'm assuming you're running this as your commander.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
If this is in your command zone and your opponents are just like, well, I can't attack you because you'll just drop this guy, haste him at me, and then I lose my best thing. Great. Do you want to make an enemy with the O-Kagachi? He is very vengeful. He is a vengeful Kami.
Super vengeful. He's coming after, like, you really kind of only will attack players that have attacked you with this, right? Like you want to get that permanent,
get that value, right?
And then you always have a reason. You're like, hey man, like just don't attack me, and I won't get to do this. No
problem.
So we play that political game a bit too. I like it. I like this card a lot. I think it's
I like
neat.
him a lot.
I think it.
And then we've got
I think it also lends to a really neat deck built around it that isn't necessarily dragons, also, which is cool.
For sure. We got one more legendary dragon to run at you with no color. It's an artifact. It's a 6 generic Ramos Dragon Engine. However, it's got Wooburg color identity because legendary artifact creature dragon, 4/4 flying. Whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colors. So if you cast any of the other previously mentioned dragons, it gets 5 +1/+1 counters. Remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos. Add white, white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, green, green to your mana pool. Activate this ability only once each turn. So you only get that 10 bonus mana once each turn to prevent too many infinite combos.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure there's still infinite combos in there, but like that's a door to nothingness right there.
That's a Progenitus, obviously.
Progenitus right there.
It's
and
all
like
kinds of stuff.
You don't have to get all those counters in one shot either. Like even if it takes you 2 spells to get there, who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Dirty
I
card.
also thought you might say remove 5 counters, add woo 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 boo boo goo goo. Okay.
Are you okay, Andy?
Oh yeah, no, fine.
It's Ramos.
It's just Ramos Dragon Engine. Yeah, so
I'm
Ramos
gonna cast the spell, trigger, add some counters. I want to remove the counters.
Sounds like you're freezing to death and playing Magic. I think, oh man, because obviously like these cards were spoiled a while ago.
We've all thought about this card.
Yeah, we've all thought about these cards a lot. There's lots we can do with this. This one, I think, is the most potential to be broken, right? Like, this one's going to break games, no question about it. There's going to be some crazy infinite combos with this, I'm sure.
Crazy.
Like, so, yeah.
You're getting 10 mana, and the cost to get that 10 mana is removing some counters.
Yeah, right? It's nuts.
Right?
I don't know.
There's a very good chance you use that 10 mana to cast a multicolored dragon and put counters back on, right? That's why you can't do this more than once. But then on opponent's turns, if you've got any ability for flash, if you've got like a Vidalcan Orrery down, you can do this on other people's. Like each turn, it doesn't have to be each of your turns, right? It's like, I'll do it once on your turn, and then once on your turn, and then once on your turn.
So I guess the ability that stops it from doing it more than once per turn will stop any infinite combos with it. Unless there's something with blinking it, right?
Yes, if you're able to blink it, then it does it.
Resets it, right?
I have read a couple infinite combos. I don't remember them. There are a lot of. I don't know. My brain doesn't think in infinite combos. I'm gonna choose to say that is a pro as opposed to a con. But yeah.
I think Ramos Dragon Engine is also like maybe a better commander than the Dragon. Just because like you can cast them at 6 mana no matter what your lands look like, and then you can get the big mana to cast your other big dragons sort of easily, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's obviously a wicked card, and again, you don't need to build dragons around it, which is great.
Yeah, so good.
Okay. So those are the 3 big dragons, but we do have one more, actually 2 more legendary creatures in this deck. One of them is Taigam, Ojutai Master, 2 white, blue, legendary human monk. It's a 3/4. He says, instant, sorcery, and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, if Taigam Ojutai Master attacked this turn, that's very interesting, that spell gains rebound.
That's Raid. He's got Raid.
He has Raid, and he's white and blue.
Yeah, that Raid wasn't in blue. I don't think.
No, Raid was in red only.
It was in white.
Was
and
it?
I think it was in black too.
Yeah, it was in black.
It was a Mardu thing.
I feel like it was in. Yeah, you're right. It was Mardu, wasn't it? Okay, so strange though. Still shouldn't be on this card, really.
Maybe the white part is the Raid, and then the blue part is the rebound. But white also had rebound. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not going to complain. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I just think it's strange. I mean, maybe they just needed the restriction to tie it to in order to tie it to attacking. because would have been too powerful otherwise. I don't know. This creature is also completely bonkers. Instants and sorceries just can't be countered, which is this guy's now the default control deck, right?
Oh,
Like
white and blue? Heck yeah.
forget it. Like this guy's counter spells reign supreme.
Right. And it just double ups. So you got so many counter spells that you can't really rebound counter spells for much benefit, but it's like, oh, you didn't do anything? Cool. End of turn, cast a spell, draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Upkeep, draw 2 cards.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Man,
like
shut up.
forget about it. Like he just dwarfs any of the other blue-white commanders that would want to be the big control. Like Afara has nothing on this guy. Like this guy's just it's so much better.
And I suppose that the fact that he has to attack is kind of like puts him in a little bit of peril, but there's a bajillion ways to make it so people can attack without any worries.
Yeah, in blue and white also, like
no problem. Don't worry about
auras, like even just it's
I can think of numerous instances that do that will get rebounds, so you can do it next turn too.
Exactly. Oh man, unreal. So I
cool.
I actually really am excited about this one. I think this is a very good commander, and I don't know. I'm wrestling. Do I change my Afara deck to a Tygam deck now? I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see, but it's cool. I like it. I'm excited.
Next, we got Wasitora Nekoru Queen. This is a cat dragon for 2 and a Jund, so 2 black, red, green, 5/4 flying trample. Whenever Wasitora Nekoru Queen deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. If the player can't, you create a 3/3 black, red, and green cat dragon creature token with flying. So that's a very specific token.
It's a very specific token.
But whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. That's very good. That will never say no to that ability. I can't imagine many scenarios where the player can't sacrifice a creature. We would probably brew the deck so that we remove a lot anyway, so that we want to increase our chances of that to get more cats out there. But it just seems like a very high variance ability, and I don't imagine that the deck that is led by Wasitora would rely on Wasitora very heavily.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I think it would be one of those damage-based decks that would like it's either you take damage or you sacrifice a creature, right? So
yeah,
that would be fun because then you're forcing your opponents to sacrifice a lot, and then when you do get Wasitora out there or Wasitora, you can get some creatures with it. You can get your cat dragons.
Yep.
Yeah, this is neat. Actually, I'm kind of excited to maybe build this deck.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also just think she looks really cool. Like, look at this thing. Cat dragon?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Look at those claws.
Yeah, I'm into that. So yeah, great. I think it's cool. I think it's very Jund, right? There's a lot of attacking. There's lots of sacrificing. It's a big flying creature.
Have you seen
It's fun.
token that it makes?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's cute.
It is cute. It's a little too cute.
For what it is, probably true.
All right, so now those are the legendary creatures. I think the power level here is very high. That theme is going to continue throughout this set review. But let's move on to the other new cards that are in the dragon deck.
Sure. These are in the dragon decks. Some of them are dragons. Some of them are just spells.
Right.
We're going to move through these fairly quickly because they're not so dependent on the deck necessarily.
Right. So
we're going to evaluate them as general commander cards that might go in other decks we have.
Correct. This one's Fortunate Few. It's 3 and 2 white for a sorcery. It says choose a non-land permanent you don't control. Then each other player chooses a non-land permanent he or she doesn't control that hasn't been chosen this way. Destroy all other non-land permanents. I don't really like this card that much.
So I choose your worst thing.
Yeah.
Then you have to choose the worst thing you don't own. Mm-hmm. And then every other opponent does that. No one has to choose my things.
No one. It's not like you go around the circle and choose like everyone's things must be chosen. No. Everyone can
end
choose.
Up with nothing.
Exactly. Everyone can choose, and you can leave one player with all their stuff if they only have a few things, right? Like. The variance on this is very high. I think some decks, this is going to be a fun card to play. Like some political decks are going to have some fun playing this.
Yeah, this is a team up deck.
Exactly.
If you've teamed up with someone, I'm going to save your Worm Coil Engine. You're going to save my, or yes, you want that to die, but I'll save your huge thing. You'll save my huge thing.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, but I think otherwise, like if you're looking at like effectiveness, I don't think Fortunate Few is. I think Fortunate Few is going to be hard to get a state where you're like, oh, I just dominate this, right? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. Don't like it.
all right, let's move on.
Next up, Master Chief. Our spoiler card, Scalelord Reckoner, 3 white, dragon flying, 4/4. Whenever a dragon you control becomes a target of a spell or ability, destroy target non-land permanent that player controls.
Spell ability and opponent controls.
An opponent controls. That's true. That's true. I left that out for brevity, but I guess that's important.
That is important.
Yeah. Cool. In a dragon tribal deck, that's incredible. We talked about this on our spoiler review, that this is going to make targeted removal almost impossible to use on you. I love it.
Yeah, very, very difficult in the dragon tribal deck. Otherwise, probably not worth it. Maybe if your commander is a dragon, like you might throw
that
this
would be
in.
The only other thing.
Yeah, like if you're running like O-Kagachi or Ramos just as your like, your catch-all commander for that style of deck, like maybe Scalelord Reckoner is worth tossing in there. But otherwise, yeah, this is a dragon tribal card through and through, and it's a very good one.
Cool. What's up?
What's up?
Cool.
What's up next? What's up?
I meant to say what's next. I said what's up.
This one is Kindred Discovery. It's 3 and 2 blue for an enchantment. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Yeah. This is a tribal deck's like dream. Like, of course. Yeah, no problem.
A+ tribal, F- not tribal.
Yeah, pretty much not super playable outside of it.
Yeah, and I will extend the tribal title to any deck that makes a lot of tokens of one type.
Yes. Well, yeah, I think
but
that's
you got
arguably
if you're
tribal.
blue green and you just make a ton of saplings, and like you have so many cards that make saplings, sure, name saplings. That's fine. That'll do just fine.
I mean, that feels like you're just building a sapling deck there, so that's fine, right?
Yeah, it can be considered tribal. So I like it a lot.
Yep.
If you have any tribal stuff, run it. If not, don't see why.
And you're right. Tokens also love it. Okay.
Next up is Boneyard Scourge. 2 black. It's a zombie dragon with flying 4/3. This is the Command Zone spoiler card. Whenever a dragon you control dies, while Boneyard Scourge is in your graveyard, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, this guy, like, he protects the team, right? So, or I guess when he is in the team. So, Scalelord Reckoner's out there. This guy's in the graveyard. If they touch one of your things, you get to destroy one of their permanents. Boneyard Scourge comes back into the battlefield. It's great.
Yeah, this is cool. I've seen there's another card that cares about when dragons die, you can bring it back from your graveyard. It's like, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little black creature that's just good for blocking and stuff. And I think this is just a much upgraded version of that. So you can take that guy out of your decks now and put in Boneyard Scourge.
Cool.
Next, we have our other little baby, Territorial Hellkite. 2 red for a flying haste dragon. That's a 6/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random that Territorial Hellkite didn't attack during your last combat. Territorial Hellkite attacks that player this combat if able. If you can't choose an opponent this way, you tap Territorial Hellkite. So it's always going to be attacking someone. It's always going to be attacking someone it didn't attack last turn, and if that's not possible, you have to tap it. So when you get down to heads up, like we said in our spoiler video, he attacks every other turn basically, unless you have some untapping shenanigans, which could very well work with this guy.
This also gets. Here's the first concrete example of why Eminence is kind of dumb, because this could come out on turn 3 for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's too soon. That's
6/5 flying haste on turn 3.
No,
it is too much. But I mean, that like I said in the video, I said in our preview video, it kind of paints these guys both kind of paint targets on you, because this guy comes out so early that you're going to be throwing this damage around, and people are going to be like, well, this can't happen. Like, we got to stop this guy. So you better be ready for some crackback if you're going to play Territorial Hellkite. But I like it in Chaos decks. I like it in Dragon decks. It's fine in, but you have to be I think you want to be an attacking deck.
Yeah.
I think this is actually the least tribally dragon we've seen so far.
Right. Next up is this is very interesting. It's a sorcery. 3 white-blue, Fractured Identity. Exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. So right away we're paying 5 to exile anything that's not a land. But then we have to give everyone a copy of it except the original controller. This is interesting. I feel like one of our listeners at Fen Bogarty, he put together a very interesting combo using this and a bunch. I couldn't figure it out. He had to explain it to me. But like if you use like Lane Line of Sanctity so you can't be targeted, and then you cast that creature where all the other permanents you own go to target opponent. So you give that to someone and then you fracture identity it, but you put the skill. Anyway, it's a combo that makes sure so that you own all the permanents in the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds nuts. But aside from that insane combo,
Yeah.
what do you think of this card? I think this card is good, but it comes with a heavy price tag. I think
it doesn't solve the problem, right? Like if you get rid of a problem, now all of your other opponents have that problem.
But you also have that. You also now have that as well.
Sure, but I don't know. I mean, like is like I don't know. It seems dangerous. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna love running it. I'm gonna try it on some cool stuff.
I think
like
this gives somebody an excuse to go like crazy on you though. Like if you ever cast this on me, it's game over. I'm just going to come at you the whole game.
You think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like, if you take away my, I don't know, parallel lives or something. Like,
and forget, we all have
you all have parallel lives. And, you know, that's probably a bad example because that's a very specific kind of card. But, like, I don't know, something really good. If you take, I think you have to
Let's say a Sun Titan.
You have to be careful with what you pick, right? So, because if you pick my, like, Swiftfoot boots, I'd be like, oh, well, that sucks, but I probably wouldn't come after you. But if you took something very big and good, I would be very like, oh, that's it. I gotta kill you. It's over.
Like if we did your Mind's Dilation.
Yeah, I'd be very mad about that.
We all have Mind's Dilation.
I'd be so mad about that. Because oh man, that really screws that guy. Like that's really, really putting that player behind.
Okay, but maybe this card is meant to be like a giant killer. Like this is for when that one player is just like crushing everybody. It's like we can't get around their dang, like all their artifacts are indestructible because of a stupid card and like
right.
But those things, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is better suited when it's like you're the arch enemy for now and we need something to deal with you. Well, here's a good way to even up the score.
That's true. That's a very good point. That being said, I think this card's great. I love it. I love what it does to the game. It messes with people. It spreads love around. It spreads very specific hate. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I like this card.
Most interesting card so far.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Wait, did you read that one or did I? I can't remember. I think you did. Oh.
Fractured Identity. I read it.
Oh, okay. So then we're done. Now we're on to cats.
Kitty cats.
So before we do that, let's talk about the Dragon Tribal deck just very, very briefly.
Sure.
I think a lot of upfront power, and I'm kind of like surprised that they. Oh, I guess it's more in the reprint section. But anyways, I think the new cards are bonkers, and I think they're just great. I love them. This deck got a lot of good stuff.
I never did build the Sion Dragon deck, so I'm excited to get into the Dragon Tribal game.
It's funny because like the new dragons outside of the legendaries are actually kind of the least exciting part of the new cards. I think like Kindred Discovery and Fractured Identity are more, exciting than Territorial Hellkite and Boneyard Scourge, for example.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's neat. If I had to choose one of the decks, this one's definitely up there for me.
Cool.
All right, let's get to kitty cats.
Kitty cats. Okay. When
first. When it was
go on.
I was just gonna say when it was talked about that cats would be the other deck, I think a lot of people scoffed because they thought it was too silly. But cats are a well-documented Magic tribe, and we're happy to see them. They're here. It's the green-white deck, and
this deck seems very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And it starts with Arabo, Roar of the World, 3 green-white for a legendary cat avatar. It's a 5/5, and it has Eminence. Its Eminence says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if Arabo, Roar of the World is in the command zone or on the battlefield, another target cat you control gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So this Eminence, I think, is a lot less powerful than the Dragon one.
Yep, it doesn't cheat out any cards.
Nope, doesn't cheat mana cost. It just makes something bigger, which if you don't have another creature, it doesn't do anything.
It makes it bigger on your combat step. So if you're not attacking with it, it's kind of pointless.
Absolutely.
So it is an Eminence ability that, again, expects you to brew a deck full of cats. and you're going to want to be attacking with them. You can't just sit back and wall up your cats because then you're wasting that eminence. I think this eminence is very fair. I think I think they hit this one well.
This eminence is fair, but the fact that it is just free is still... I still don't like it. Anyways, whenever another cat you control... It also says this. Whenever another cat you control attacks, you may pay 1 green-white. If you do, it gains trample and gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. So you're definitely going to be pumping it by 3. So let's say it's a 3/3, just conservatively. It's a 6/6.
Well,
and now
minimum going to be like a 4/4.
Well, again,
you're not going to run any. You're going to start with a
conservative.
0/0.
Conservative. No. I mean, it's already a 3/3.
Oh, it's a 3/3 before
and now you're,
the eminence.
then you're saying +3/3, so it's a 6/6. We'll double that up, and that's only with 12. one activation.
It is not a activate only once ability.
Oh wait, is it? Yes, it is actually, because it's whenever another
cat.
But you can still do it to multiple cats, which is neat.
Is that true?
Whenever another cat.
Oh yeah. But you have to do it at attack.
Yes.
But you can do it per attacking. So you can't do it multiple times for each cat, but you can spread out. Great.
Yeah.
Much more fair.
So this ability is very powerful, right? Especially if you're pumping them up with, say, I don't know, equipment.
Yep.
So yeah, Arabo. You're right though. The eminence is a lot more fair on this card. So I think Arabo is really neat. I think and 5 mana for a 5/5 creature that does that is not too bad.
And it has to be another cat, so he can't 21 someone that easily.
No, he won't do it himself.
Good. Seems fair. Seems great. Seems very powerful.
Seems fair. Seems like he wants cats around him, and I'm sure that's what he'll find. Who we got next?
Miri, the Weatherlight Duelist. 1 green-white for a legendary cat warrior. 3/2 with first strike. Whenever Miri, Weatherlight Duelist, attacks, each opponent can't block with more than 1 creature this combat. And as long as Miri Weatherlight is tapped, no more than 1 creature can attack you each combat. Wow. This really affects combat.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they can only block with 1 creature.
She's a duelist, and she somehow attacks into large groups of creatures, and she's like in a movie where only one of them decides to come out and fight her. She's like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, you suit her up with equipment, and it's got to be tough to deal with her. I think this is this is a Voltron Commander, and this is a good one.
It doesn't, but I don't think it's necessarily a Voltron Commander, because you can attack with a huge go-wide team of tokens, and they only get to block 1 of them.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I kind of read that differently. Yeah.
And so if you have 1 combat trick to save 1 creature, you just save the one that gets blocked, and it's like, great. Or you just don't, because Miri has to attack, but as we said, there are many ways to make it so, like, you can attack without fear, make it unblockable, right? Untap it and remove it from combat. You probably want Miri to remain tapped, because when you're done, Miri's tapped, and everyone can only attack you with 1 creature each turn. So it's like they can't even strike back.
Yeah, man. I like this card. It's a nice combat-centric type thing, and like we just illustrated, this actually works well for tokens or equipment, but it doesn't... Like, the problem I have is some cards out there will have like a Kemba, right? Kemba makes a bunch of tokens, and she also wants to be a Voltron Commander. Well, it's like, oh, I'm gonna Voltron her up so I can make tokens, but it's like at that point the tokens don't even really matter. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna kill somebody. She's gonna be like doing 30 damage or something, right? So, but Miri, it's like you can either or. And one part of it doesn't sort of become useless, right? Like, it's she's great. I love it.
She might be the perfect cat.
Oh, but there's still one more. We still have Nazan, Revered Bladesmith, 4 green-white for a 5/4 legendary cat artificer. When Nazan, Revered Bladesmith, enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment card and reveal it. If you reveal a card named Hammer of Nazan this way, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So in order to evaluate this, let's also just quickly bring up Hammer of Nazan. It's a 4-mana artifact, colorless. Whenever Hammer of Nazan or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. Its equip cost is 4. So that's a high equip cost, but as you just read, whenever it comes into the battlefield, you attach it to something, which means whenever Nazan comes into the battlefield, it gets it's hard to switch back and forth between the cards. It gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. So it's like it's almost like he has that natively.
Right. And then all future equipment attaches automatically and sort of has pseudo haste because the creature is probably going to attack, and it's gross.
Yeah, it's nuts. So this guy's really neat. I think this is another, like, just if you want to take it another way, I think Nazan is really cool. The fact that he tutors it for an equipment card as well is really great. Man.
Oh, Nazan just crushes equipment tribal.
Yes, definitely.
Crushes it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say, right? You just load it up with equipment and have a great time with this commander, I think.
Have a great time. Have a great time,
Have
everybody.
a blast. This one more likely to be the Voltron, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe
not more so than Miri, just like
sure.
This is definitely going to be a Voltron commander, I would say.
Yeah, because you're going to load it up with equipment.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Next up is a weird, like, so this is is this the only monocolor legendary we get that's new?
Yeah, I think so.
This is Alms Collector. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong one here. I'm on Balan, Wandering Knight, 2 white, legendary cat knight. Balan, Wandering Knight, 2 white, legendary cat knight.
All night, make it right. All right. All right.
3/3, first strike. Balan Wandering Knight has double strike as long as 2 or more equipment are attached to it. Holding 2 blades, double strike. I get it. 1 and a white.
Win.
1 and a white. Attach all equipment you control to Balan. What is this? What is this? Like, so again, we're incentivized to drop a ton of equipment into the deck. Just throw it all on the battlefield. I'll attack with Balan, and then my opponents will always ask, okay, what would Balan be if all your equipment was on it? And then you have to tell them, because you're going to do it after they choose blocks or not to block. I think Balan works very well with Miri because everyone's wearing their own equipment and you attack and they're like, who do I block? It has to be Balan. But if it is, then you get to make the choice of, like, do I move all my equipment to Balan to just nuke whoever's blocking him? Or do I just let everyone with their equipment hit my opponent and just, I'll bring Balan back some other way? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think this guy's more of a 99.
Probably.
In an equipment deck, and still is a great threat. Obviously, you can build a pretty cool equipment deck around him also as a commander, but I think you're going to find this guy popping up in Nazan, Miri, Kemba decks, I'd say more.
I think this guy's an auto-include for any of those SRAM equipment decks out there.
Oh, yeah, that too, yep. Yeah, I mean, and also just the flavor of him getting double strike if he's holding 2 things is just great.
Yeah.
Although the flavor if he's wearing like 2 pieces of armor is like, well, I guess sure.
I mean, when a soldier is in battle with armor, they're always throwing elbows around and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Look at Captain America. Okay, let's move on to. Oh no, let's go back to Alms Collector. 3 and white. It's a 3/4 cat cleric with flash. If an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card.
Wow.
I think this is a cool card. I think it's.
It doesn't mean whenever they draw their second card, they have to draw 2 or more cards in that instance.
Right.
So it doesn't work on a draw step, even if like a Howling Mind says you draw an additional card. I think that's a separate trigger, so you're not drawing 2 at once.
Right, but a big Blue Sun Zenith or something of that nature.
That means you and that player each draw a card.
Yeah, like if you have like Nekusar or Niv Mizzet or the Locust God, like in your meta, this is an auto include in those white decks because
he's a bit like Leovold if you can like cram some wheel effects on there too, because your opponents are trying to draw back to hand size, but then instead you and that player each draw a card, so it hurts you as well. You don't get 7 out of it. Oh no, you would get your 7, but that just hurts theirs. You would get an additional 1. So yeah, this one's pretty good.
Yeah, and isn't it weird that Leovold's ability is now on a white card?
Yep.
Like it is more of a white ability anyways, but the fact that they still made it make sense that it's on Leovold is kind of funny. How do they do that? Okay,
Yeah.
what do we got? Next one we have here.
Stalking Leonin. 2 and a white, cat archer, 3/3. When Stalking Leonin enters the battlefield, secretly choose an opponent.
Oh, I love it.
And this is weird. So the cost to do this is to reveal the player that you chose. So you flip over your little post-it. Then you get to exile target creature that's attacking you if it's controlled by the chosen player. And you can activate this ability only once. Because once the Stalking Leonin has shown himself, no more surprise.
Another huge flavor win.
Yeah, huge flavor win. Very cool card.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I want to see more stuff like this in Commander. Secretly
threat of
choosing
activation.
things, right? Oh, it's so cool. I love it.
Yeah. Even secrets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like this. I think it's just decent protection for, not always the scariest thing on the board because you want to. But it's a good attack deterrent. It's really neat.
Especially until you reveal it, because then no one knows.
But like you can just, it's not the greatest attack prevention. Like I know you didn't choose my my 4/4 or whatever. If I have
you just choose a player. You don't choose a creature.
Oh, you choose a player. But
so then if they attack with their second best thing, you can choose to exile it. But
yeah.
I mean, if they're afraid and are only attacking with medium to small things, that's a win.
But it's still a player. So even if someone's doing better than you, it's like, okay, well, I can still attack this person. But then, because they're doing better, maybe they won't even attack you in the first place.
Very interesting.
Cool. Very cool stuff. Love the card. Next one is Hungry Lynx. 1 and a green for a 2/2 cat. Cats you control have protection from rats. Man, the flavor just keeps rolling with these cat cards. I love it.
Yeah.
At the beginning of your end step, target opponent creates a 1/1 black rat creature token with Death Touch. And whenever a rat dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each cat you control. Oh man, the only thing that I think doesn't make sense with this card is the fact that it's a lynx and it's in like the desert. Shouldn't this be like a city cat dealing with rats all the time? Like this guy should it looks like this cat is from Amonkhet, but it should be from Innistrad, right? Like this should be
like Ravnica maybe.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Ravnica could be great. I don't know. Anyways, but that's the only problem I have. Otherwise, I think this cat is fun. I think it's really good. I think it's like politically like fun. Oh man, I love it. The art. It feels like it's a callback to that old what's that card called? Like Hidden in the Woods or something.
Don't know.
I'm just going to quickly look it up because it's classic. Oh, no, it's not that. Anyways, there's some old green card that makes cats for forests, right? Like everybody creates cats for the forests they have. And it very much looks like this little lynx here. Anyways, so this card's a win. The cat deck so far is rolling out the wins for me. I love it.
Yeah, very cool.
What's next?
Next, we have the Kindred Summons. This is an instant. 5 green. Choose a creature type. It's leaning towards your tribal decks. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into your library. So this doubles your army in size if you have that many creatures in there. This card is potentially so bonkers.
Yeah.
Right? Because like tokens turn into actual cards. Like if you have cat tokens, we've already seen a few ways. Have we seen a few ways to make them? I don't know if we have, but there are lots of ways to make cat tokens. Maybe not ones we've discussed, but there are plenty. Then you just get actual cat cards out of them.
It's like Super Collected Company, but better and tribal. It's so neat. It's cost 7, but it is an instant, which I love.
Oh man,
right? Like it's gonna be hard to get super blown out with this card outside of like a counter spell or something. But yeah, the fact that
this is a reason to splash green somehow in your zombie tribal deck. Like that's what this card really wants to do.
Sultai zombies is a real thing.
Yeah, man.
Sure, right?
It's a DC, no problem.
Yeah. I love this card. So far, the Kindred cycle is hitting it out of the park for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
The Kindred Discovery is huge. Kindred Summons is great. So we'll see if they can keep that rolling.
Let's see if there are 5 of them.
So it looks like there are.
Yep.
Or there's 4 of them at the very least.
Right. That's my thing, right? There better be 5.
Next we have here is Qasali Slingers. 4 and a green for a 3/5 cat warrior with reach. Whenever Qasali Slingers or another cat enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. No problem.
What?
Done. It's in. I like this card a lot. I think this even goes in non-cat decks.
Oh yeah, and like let's just look back to the Kindred Summons, right? Like if you resolve a Kindred Summons, it's like every artifact and enchantment is gone. That's not mine.
Yep. I think it's fantastic.
Fantastic.
I don't know what else to say. I think this card is
Nothing else needed.
It's obviously like not as efficient and elf tribally as the one we all know and love, Reclamation
Aura
Sage.
shards.
No,
I think
Reclamation Sage.
Aura shards.
But this is still just a creature that has this ability on it when it enters the battlefield, and that's great in a lot of decks. So, and as the added upside of if a random cat enters the battlefield under your control, you get to do it again. So that's cool.
Next up is a sorcery. Traverse the Outlands. 4 and a green for search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle your library. Interesting.
I like this
Very
card.
interesting.
Very green. Very green.
Very
card.
green. You know, green rewards having big creatures. This certainly does. 5 mana for a ramp spell is a lot, but this isn't like a ramp spell that gets you to your commander. This is a ramp spell that's meant to get you to your end game combo. Like you go from like 8 lands to like 16 lands.
And I think oddly enough, in a lot of 3 and more colored decks, this card may not be as good for some people just because they're not running this many basics, right? Like they might
right.
By the time they get up to 5, 6, 7 mana and you cast this, they might only be finding, like if they have a 6 power creature on the board or something, they might not even find 6 lands. You and I think generally will have a good time with this card though.
Yes, we run a lot of basics.
We like running basics. And I mean, I think it's generally pretty good to run a lot of basics, actually.
I agree.
Because of cards like this is one of the reasons. I like Traverse the Outlands. 5 mana, though, is right at the cusp of, like, is it too much? Like, for an effect, like, it is, the setup, you got to have a big creature out there to really make it worth it. So, I don't know. I think this card is kind of just okay, but obviously in like landfall decks or something, it's just nonsense. It's great.
Nonsense.
Yeah, like Omnath, Angry Omnath, just please.
Angry Omnath. I forgot about him.
Go to bed. This card's going in there in a second, right?
Go to bed. Brush your teeth.
Go to bed. Brush your teeth. Good night.
No stories.
Yeah. What's next? We have Bloodforged Battle-Axe. This is a 1 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle-Axe, and you can equip it for 2.
Wow. I love this card.
I would have liked it more if the equip cost was 1 and the cost was 2, as always. But I still think I still think it's great. And in any equipment heavy deck, it's awesome.
Because right? Like, it just starts multiplying, and like, there's nothing. Whenever equipped creature,
there's nothing.
You can equip the same creature with multiple Bloodforged Battle-Axes. So throw this on the what is his name? The cat that gets double strike that can have all equipment suck onto him.
Yeah, right. Like it goes. It grows exponentially if you can attach them all.
Yeah, like put it on anyone with trample, and it's like sure. I'm going to hit you with all of them. So I've got 3 axes. They each trigger. Here's 3 more axes. Cool. Next turn, 6 more axes.
But you're right. Balan loves. This is his axe. This is the one he wants.
This is Balan's jam.
Yeah, man. He holds 2 of them. It makes sense. It's great.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Other equipment cards? I still think it just works. It just works everywhere. If you're talking about equipment. But yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of decks that want equipment, maybe as a token deck, I expect to get creatures through. This is huge incentive to be like, well, I better block this thing because I don't want that to get out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card at first glance is just like, oh, that's just okay. But I do think you can really do some crazy things with this card.
Oof.
All right. Next. Okay, we've already read Hammer of Nazan. Obviously, this goes with Nazan.
Yeah.
But does it go in other decks?
If it's equipment, yes.
Right, exactly. Same thing, right? Any equipment deck is just going to love to have this.
Yeah.
All right, we've already talked about it. It's a high equip cost, but but when it comes in, if you can get it on something, you're gonna be.
Does it need to be equipped to do its thing?
Enters the battlefield under your control. You may attach that equipment to. Oh, it also is another equipment. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know it had that.
Yeah.
I glazed over that a bit. Yeah, the ability on this card alone is just well worth it, right?
Yeah, it acts like a wicked enchantment for other equipment.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right. Love it.
There's kitty cats.
That's the cats. And I think, man, were there any stinkers?
Zero stinkers.
Zero stinkers.
Yeah, zero stinkers.
I
mean, they all have very high synergies together. A lot of them are demanding specific types of decks.
Yes.
But in those decks, home runs.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like general commander cards, maybe not like every single deck commander cards, but like of this genre of commander deck, right? So like equipment or token or whatever. I think we're finding some very good, very useful cards here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into vampires.
But before we do, I need to go to the bathroom. 1 second.
Okay, I'm going to leave this in the show.
Vampires is up next. Mardu vampires. I'm very excited for this. I think I'm just in a Mardu phase. I really like Mardu these days.
Yeah, we covered a lot of Mardu recently, and I also am kind of in a Mardu phase. I've been wanting to brew a Mardu deck because I don't have one. And actually, just before this deck was boiled, or the idea of it was spoiled at least, I was like, I think I want to make a Mardu vampires deck with Queen Marquesa.
Yeah.
But now I guess what? I don't have to do that. I can pick a real vampire, and the first one I can pick is Edgar Markov. 3 red, white, black, legendary vampire knight. He has Eminence. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. He himself has first strike and haste. And also, whenever Edgar Markov attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control.
So we will probably have a bunch of vampires from our Eminence triggers by then. So, and Edgar will attack with haste right away. So this army gets pretty scary out of nowhere.
Yes, considering there's a lot of +1/+1 counter synergy with vampires. The vampires that exist. So that's going to be very, very good.
And I think it's worth pointing out that Edgar Markov said he doesn't say each other vampire. He says each vampire. So that's going to include himself.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to get bigger. Everyone's going to get bigger. He's got first strike, which is great. It's 6 mana for I guess if you attack, it's a 5/5 first strike with all this stuff.
Yeah, the first time you attack, he gets that trigger. So yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that might be. Hopefully, you've got it all set up, but like by the time you're going to cast him, because otherwise, I don't know. Like he might not be able to attack safely. Like a 5/5 first strike is good.
I see.
But I don't know. Maybe people have stuff out there that are going to be able to, gobble them up or prevent your attack, or I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if I think Edgar Markov is good. But I think it's good enough just for the just for the 1/1 vampires, honestly. Like I would run Edgar Markov just for that. So I'm actually being very nitpicky about this right now. But because even if you did attack and he dies, big deal. You made 1,000 vampires and they all have +1/+1 counters on them. So I think that's actually good enough, even if you only had them once.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So overall, I think it's like pretty good, pretty to very good.
Yeah, pretty to very good. I'm very excited about this next commander, Lycia Sanguine Tribune. 5 red, white, black. That is a pricey commander. 8. Legendary Vampire Soldier, 4/4 first strike lifelink. Okay, that's pretty good. Costs 1 generic less to cast for each 1 life you gain this turn. Aha, that's why she costs so much, because we can make her very cheap very easily.
Yes.
Then you can pay 5 life, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Lycia. Activate this ability only on your turn and only once each turn. So, like, she has lifelink and first strike, so I'm going to get that 5 life back as soon as she hits once. So I'm going to pay 5. She's going to become a 7/7, and I'm going to gain 7 after that first combat. And that first trigger puts her into that magic number. So 7 is a very important number because that means 3 hits, and that's lethal damage. So your next turn, she's going to become a 10/10. That's still 1 hit away. So yeah, that first, if you just wail on one player, and that's assuming you're not doing anything else to pump her power and toughness. I think this vampire creature, it's cool that she wants a lifelink deck, a life gain deck in the colors of Mardu. I think that's neat.
I think that is also very neat, and I think this is going to be a bit of a Carador situation where you'll basically hardly ever pay more than red, white, black for her.
I agree.
Because it's very easy to gain a bunch of life in a turn and not have it be a problem and have it be recurable. So, yeah, I think you're going to be able to cast her a lot sooner than turn 8. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Which makes her super, super powerful.
Cool. Who's next?
Next, we have Mathos. Mathos? What do you think?
I want to say Mathos.
Mathos. Fiend Seeker. Red, white, black. Legendary vampire. 3/3 with menace. At the beginning of your end step, put a bounty counter on target creature and opponent controls. For as long as that creature has a bounty counter on it, it has, quote, when this creature dies, each opponent draws a card and gains 2 life.
Wow.
So you set a bounty on their creature, and then everyone's trying to kill it. I think it's great. And it's like everyone working together, too. It's like all the opponents are like, yeah, if you can kill it, go ahead. I'll try to kill it, too. Like, it's great. You put this on commanders and stuff? Oh, that's going to be so annoying.
Great. And it's also useful for, like, you know, decks that want to sacrifice a lot. So it's like, okay, you're going to want to sacrifice this eventually, so we might as well get something out of it when you do.
Well, it's going to be tough to do that because then they just sack in response.
They'll sack in response. But I mean, great. Let's make them show their hand.
Yeah. I just like it as oh man, I think it's great.
Flavor win.
This is the kind of neat, like, new mechanic that I've never really seen before. I mean, I could be wrong about that. There could be something kind of similar to this in the past in Magic's vast history, but I love this guy as a commander. It's so fun. This is going to be such a fun deck to build.
And then this is my pick for top Mardu commander, I think, right now, because he comes down so early and you just start throwing those bounties around all over the place. And then the Mardu deck shores up its biggest weakness, which could be card draw. Like, it's kind of tough, but you're just drawing cards and are your opponents left, right, and center.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like everybody's drawing cards essentially except for this one person. So,
well, you can spread it, or you can spread the bounties around.
Of course. I just mean, like, when each creature dies, like, their opponents will draw and so on.
I bet you Mathis is a pretty mean 1v1 commander.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to do all the work in killing that thing then. So there's that.
Creature's gonna die. Creatures are gonna
die for sure. Ladies be shopping. Creatures be dying, right?
Creatures be dying while ladies be shopping.
Yeah, a little Parks and Rec there. I love Mathis though. This is awesome. I think this is like separate from vampires also, obviously. I mean, as well as Lissy has the same thing. Not necessarily vampires in her deck, but this is going to be a really neat deck to brew.
Cool. Those are the new legendaries.
Oh yeah, and that's it. So in an odd choice, the vampires deck only gets 3 new legendaries, whereas every other deck at least got 4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer, but I haven't. We've looked at the full deck list a little bit. I can't remember if there's another one in there. I don't think there is. Anyways, let's move on to the other cards though. Starting with
Kindred Boon, 2 white, enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, probably vampires for this. 1 and a white, no taps. Put a divinity counter on target creature you control of the chosen type. Each creature you control with a divinity counter has indestructible.
So this is great.
This is great. You're gonna, with enough mana, you're gonna make your whole team indestructible forever.
Yeah.
Basically. I guess until they destroy this enchantment. But yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I think you're gonna say it.
Even if, like, you don't need tribal. Like, just have this as protection for your commander, right? Yeah. Like, I'm gonna only name what my commander is, and I'm gonna put 1 on my commander. There you go.
What are the creatures that already use divinity counters though, right?
Oh, the Myojins.
Yes, the Myojins.
Yes.
I'm looking. How do we?
Myojin.
Yes. Okay. So Myojin of Infinite Rage. So you can build a 5-color deck essentially, and you can name spirits, and that hits all the Myojin, and then you can keep doing their crazy abilities over and over again. So
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that deck just became a real thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Seeing Winds draws you 1,000,000 cards. Cleansing Fire kills every other creature. Destroy all lands. The red one. So that's kind of fun. That's a fun little counter case, which I think is
amazing.
Very fun that they make something that works that way with older cards. I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
There's probably other things that use divinity counters. I just maybe, who knows, right?
I'll look it up while you read this next card.
Great, do it. The next one is Teferi's Protection. This is one that's getting a little bit of buzz. I know the price of this one's a little high as well. It's 2 and a white for an instant that says until your next turn, your life total can't change and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out, and then you exile this card. So you can't bring this one back. Once it's gone, this one's gone for good. But interesting to note, and it says this right on there, when things are phased out, they're treated as they don't exist, and they phase back in on your next before you untap during your next untap step. So
yes,
so you get everything back. So this card, a lot of the buzz has been around, like something like Felidar Sovereign, right? You get up to that life total, you drop your Felidar Sovereign, and then if anybody tries to do anything, you just Teferi's Protection, and then you're going to win the game.
Yeah. Pretty ugly.
You have protection from everything, and everything's gone off the battlefield, so no one can
interact with it. Your life total can't change.
Your life total can't change. It's nuts.
Yeah, and you could, in theory, you could still float a ton of mana into your mana pool and cast this, see if it resolves, and if it does, you've got extra mana to cast a few more instants if you cared to. Or you could throw down another permanent that isn't phased out if there was ever a way to you wanted one permanent for some reason.
There you go.
I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, but I think this card it's not necessarily good in all decks. I mean, it's a one-time use thing. Yeah, I think you really would have to build around the idea of keeping your board state one way in order to win the game or something.
Yeah,
I think this has other format potential. I think that's why it's kind of a little expensive. So, but in Commander, it's actually it's just not that great.
So I looked up divinity counters. Besides the Myojin and Kindred Boon, there is one other card that does divinity counters. It's called That Which Was Taken. It's an artifact for 5 generic mana, and it basically does what Kindred Boon does. 4, tap, put a divinity counter on target permanent other than that which was taken. Each permanent with a divinity counter on it is indestructible. So you don't need to name a tribe. It's not tied to any particular color, and you can put it on any permanent that isn't a creature even. So,
but you have to
maybe
tap
that's
it.
a better card.
But you
do have to tap it, and it costs way
4.
more to do.
So I would actually argue that Kindred Boon is probably better.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well,
cool.
You know what? The creature type thing is but whatever. I didn't know that card existed, so that's interesting. So Kindred Boon,
neat.
I thought was a new idea, but I guess it's not. Okay, let's move on here.
Cool. We have the Kheru
Mind-Eater.
Mind-Eater. 2 and a black vampire menace 1/3. When Kheru Mind-Eater deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles a card from his or her hand face down, their choice. You may look at and play cards exiled with Kheru Mind-Eater. That's pretty great. It's got menace, which is decent evasion. We're probably going to need a little bit of a evasion boost as a 1/3. It doesn't get through much, but it kind of just adds cards to your hand. And being able to take from opponents, I mean, that's a tough choice. Even if they give you lands, that's fine. That's not a land drop I need to play out of my hand. I'll just play it out of your exiled cards. Pretty good. Yep. Pretty good. You need a bit of help, but I like it.
Yep, pretty good. It's a fairly early game drop, so you'll probably be able to get in once or twice with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
At least, I'd say. Anyways, decent. I think a good inclusion in the vampire deck and even some other black decks as well. New Blood is next. It's 2 black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast New Blood, tap an untapped vampire you control, gain control of target creature, change the text on that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. I actually kind of think that, like, other than changing it to a vampire for your vampire tribal deck, I don't think this text is really all that relevant, right? Like, if I'm going to steal your commander, I might change the fact that it's a soldier to a vampire. It's like, okay, well, that'll affect me. That might affect some of my vampires, which is cool. That's good. It's a nice added bonus. It's going to work for my tribal deck. But the like upside is if you're playing one of these other tribal decks and you steal one of their like things that affects all elves or all cats or all dragons, like you're going to get that bonus. It's like that bonus probably isn't going to happen all that often unless you're running these right out of the box, in which case you're probably going to run into it. But
oh, you know what? That almost implies you want to put cards in your own deck that have that feature. So they're like, it's like you planned to hunt them. Like you just like sneak up on this goblin lord, but you turn him into a vampire lord.
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
It's very cool. Like
that's a flavor
yeah,
of a win.
It's a huge flavor win. I think it's very fun. And even if you don't get like a crazy big boost out of it, if you just turn the creature into a vampire, I still think that's fine and good for a vampire tribal deck. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's like a mind control that's not an enchantment, right? Like it's great.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You just get
that
it.
is very cool.
Yeah. What's
I like
next?
it.
Yeah, like it. I like this in a lot of black decks too, actually. Just a good steal card.
Good steal. Next card, Patron of the Vein. Gross. 4 black, Vampire Shaman, 4/4 with flying. When Patron of the Vein, so gross, enters the battlefield, destroy target creature.
Especially when you say it like that. Vein.
Patron of the Vein. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Great. I love those abilities on cards. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Yowza. That's a tribal card if I ever did see.
Massive tribal card.
And it hoses their graveyard. This is perf.
It's great. Yeah, it's really, really great. Probably only really great in, well, you know what? You could run this in a lot of black decks just for that exile ability. And the fact that it makes itself really big is pretty strong. So actually you could run this card as like a bit of graveyard hate. You're right. Strong. Also, it's Jim Morrison on a card, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison is a vampire right now. What do we got next? Oh, Bloodsworn Steward. 2 red. Vampire Knight, 4/4 with flying. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have haste.
Interesting.
So obviously this has bigger implications outside of the vampire tribal deck. Boosting commanders and giving them haste is always a good ability for any commander that wants to attack. So it being in red, I think, is great. This is something you're going to see in a lot of 99s.
We're building up a steward cycle.
Oh, really?
Like we have the white steward that like gives your commander indestructible, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So like we're gonna see some other colors of stewards, I think.
Cool. But this is a great card. I think you're going to see this a lot in red-based commander decks, right? Like,
because so many red commanders want haste anyway if they don't come with it. So great. Fantastic.
So good.
Next up is Crimson Honor Guard. Cool name. 3 red, Vampire Knight, 4/5, trample. At the beginning of each player's end step, I like that phrase, Crimson Honor Guard deals 4 damage to that player unless he or she controls a commander. Ouch!
So this is like kind of like an anti-eminence card, right? Like,
yeah.
Like if you're just letting your commander sit in the command zone and you're just getting all this bonus from it, Crimson Honor Guard is going to hit you.
I mean, eminence works if they're on the battlefield too, anyway.
No, I know, but I mean, like it's gonna be anti-eminence in the way that like just letting them sit in the command zone the whole game. Right?
Yes. It baits out your opponent's commanders so that you can hit it with your removal spell you're just holding in your hand.
This is a really neat card. And like again, outside of Vampire Tribal, they did a good job here working this into like a Neheb, a mono red Neheb deck.
Oh baby,
this is gonna be very good in that.
I mean, it's the end step, so you don't get the extra mana from it. But
Oh yeah,
man.
you're right. Sorry, I I didn't even think about that. It is end step. Oh well, still, any deck where you're going to be throwing around damage and you want that damage to hit, that Mogus deck, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and it forces like the Rune player to cast Rune before they also have mana to blink Rune, right?
I mean, they're probably. I think more likely they're probably just going to take the 4 damage.
Sure, but like they'll probably
Unless
have
they
to take
can't,
it for
right?
a couple of turns,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
And
yeah.
it really puts a good clock on it. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think it's really neat.
Cool. What's next?
Next, we have Disrupt Decorum. 2 red sorcery. Goad all creatures you don't control. And just in case you don't remember what Goad is, this one is from Goad is from what? Conspiracy
2.
Until your next turn, those creatures attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able.
Oh, this is the card I was wishing for. I mean, it's not blue X, Scry X instant, but it's like this is Goad is so good, and we did not get enough Goad. This is one of the obvious missing Goad cards.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like we needed this. I thought this was going to be something like Red X, Goad X creatures, but this is just better. Let's Goad all of the creatures.
Goad everyone.
Please.
It's kind of like, like the Wrath of God, but it's Goad, right? It's like
Goad of God.
It's the red version. Goad of
Wrath of Goad.
Wrath of Goad. That's what this card is.
It's the Wrath of Goad.
It hits everyone. They have to do it. It costs 4, 2 and 2 red. It's great.
Oh, beautiful.
I love Wrath of Goad, and I love that it's like they're all killing each other at dinner. I think it looks really funny.
Yeah. Dinner and politics don't mix.
That's true. Yep, great card. Love it. Going to cause a lot of attacks. It's always fun to do that in Commander. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
What's up next?
Sure. Next is Kindred Charge, 4 red sorcery. Choose a creature type. For each creature you control of the chosen type, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. And then they put a goblin flavor text on there.
Of course they did.
For goblins, quantity is quality. Great flavor. I agree. But like, shouldn't it have been at least a vampire in the picture just for the theme?
Yeah, but I think I feel like they wanted to be like, hey, this is fine in this vampire deck, but guess where it's really good? A goblin deck. Like, just double up all of your goblins. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Again, tribal speaking, the Kindred cycle is unmatched. Like, it's good. This one's crazy. So good for goblins, for any, like...
Double your army if it's all the same type of thing.
Get ETB effects if you can swing that, if red is involved, like in a maybe like a teamer style deck.
Wow.
Could be great. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I like Kindred Charge a bunch.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, they're right. Goblins. Goblins is the place for this. This is like, you run this in Goblins, you're going to be pretty happy, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
thanks for sticking with us, guys. Home stretch.
Yep, home stretch now.
One more deck to go. These are the Wizards. This is I'm the most excited about this one, I think.
Speaking of Wizards, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Wizards Tower.
Yay!
Here we go.
My favorite wizard.
WizardTower.com. Go check them out. You can use our coupon code Tower of Brews. Get 5% off any order $15 or more of singles. You can already. It looks like you can pre-order Ixalan sealed product on there already, so you can jump on wizardtower.com and check that out. Also, go to mtgcanada.com and see some articles that are written by yours truly, meaning me and Sean.
Yeah, ours truly.
Ours truly.
No, I guess, yeah, yours plural. I don't know.
And that $15 or more gets free shipping in both Canada and the United States. Yep. So swing that deal. Take a look. So those remember we used to be like, hey, American listeners, like, check that exchange rate. Sometimes it's worth it even with the shipping. But guess what? That shipping's out the window now. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, man. Take advantage of our weak dollar.
Exactly. Okay, let's move into Wizard Tribal. You're very excited about this.
Very excited. The hallmark card here is Happy 40th Birthday from all of us at work. No, not just kidding. Hallmark joke. The main wizard is Inala, Archmage Ritualist, 2 and Grixis, so 2 blue, black, red. Human wizard, 4 or 5. Here's the eminence. Whenever another non-token wizard enters the battlefield under your control, if Inala Archmage Ritualist is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you may pay 1 generic. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that wizard. That token gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Wow. Not only that, tap 5 untapped wizards you control, target player loses 7 life. Whoa, boy.
And that's a good clue as to what you want to be doing with Inala's Eminence ability, right?
Yeah.
Again, reading on Reddit, talking to people about this card, a lot of people are like, well, there's not that many good wizards with ETB effects, because that's how you would want to abuse this, probably, right? And there aren't. Apparently, there's a handful of decent wizard ETB effects, but it's the tapping. That's what wizards do. Wizards tap to do awesome things. So Inala gives them haste. That's the key. So anything that comes in that has an activated ability, usually it's with tapping. You're going to be able to do that with the token version of it, and you're going to be able to get that right away. So that's where the real value comes in for those wizard tokens.
Amazing.
Yeah, and
yeah,
these colors, like at first, we've made blue, white, green wizard decks on the show.
Yeah,
deck on
Wizard.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bant Wizards is real. Mono blue wizards is great. Including red and black really is I think really great. Like the red blue wizards deck, there's a lot of tapping and dealing damage and stuff. So I think Inala is going to be a pretty good commander to tussle with.
I agree.
I like the mana cost too. It's 5. It's not too bad. Like it's good.
And if you can get a ton of wizard tokens out there somehow, you can just tap a whole bunch and just make someone lose all their life. Yeah. I feel like this is another reason why that Kaladesh mythic is broken. The one, what is it? The one that every time you cast a spell, untap everything you have.
You cast a spell. Oh, yeah. Of course.
So it's like, untap everything, you lose 7 life. Cast a spell, you lose another 7 life. Ooh. Yeah, that's going to be super dirty.
Also of note, this is Grixis colors, so conspiracy is allowed in these ones. Yeah. So if you can conspire and make, everything a wizard, then you are
Xenographed also.
But yeah, does Xeno? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Xeno, they're both in these colors, so you can really. I think it's very possible for you to build a deck around those cards, kind of, and just include whatever to get Inala's ability.
Oh yeah.
So that's
kind of great.
Cool.
Who's up next?
We have Kess, Dissident Mage. 1 blue, black, red. So only 4 mana for a legendary human wizard with flying. It's a 3/4. During each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If a card cast this way would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So basically it gives everything flashback for its mana cost.
Yeah, as long as it's on your turn.
Yeah, your turn, exactly.
Yeah,
also
pretty good.
Kind of like the Carador for instants and sorceries, except it does exile it after.
Yeah, it seems very powerful, but very fair. I want to brew around it. That sounds great.
Yeah, there's not much else to say. Giving flashback to things, even if it is just for your turn, I think is a very powerful ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Cool. Next up, another legendary is Mercil, the Pretender. 1 blue, black, red, legendary human wizard, 4/4. When Mercil the Pretender enters the battlefield, you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand or graveyard and put a cage counter on it. Mercil the Pretender has all activated abilities of all cards you own in exile with cage counters on them. You may activate each of those abilities only once each turn. Wow. So I don't want to take from my hand probably, but if I've got my graveyard full of stuff, I'll happily do that. Just throw some cage counters on those things, and then Mercil just gets better and better and better as the game goes on.
Yeah, so it is when they enter the battlefield, so you get some blinking ability in there. You can really get going. You can just like mill into your graveyard, blink Mercil, and then just get her this crazy, big monster with a bunch of abilities. That's really fun.
Yeah. I'm looking for regeneration. It's very easy to do.
I like that they included the activate the abilities only once each turn, because then it doesn't turn into a crazy combo piece where you're just going to win, super early in the game. I think that keeps her really fun.
No necrotic ooze combos.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And I mean, even then still, it's not like she would usurp the Sidisi deck that is dominating. Well, not dominating, but that is like good for that. You know what I love about Marcel though the most?
What?
She has a magic wand.
Yeah, I know. It's so cool.
True wizard. Like, yes. Yeah. Enough of wizards just making magic out of the air. They need little sticks. We know this. Wizards need little sticks, and Marcel is the only true wizard out there because she has a magic wand or a super long cigarette.
Yo, wizards, could we get a Wingardium Leviosa up in here?
Yeah, right, man. How you gonna Leviosa something when you got no wand? Get out of here.
Yeah, man. Can we Leviosa here?
You gotta focus. You gotta focus your power with that wand.
Yeah.
I like her a bunch. I think this is going to be a really fun deck as well to build. It's strategies that we're used to, like milling and blinking, but to give you a new product with it, I think is really great.
Yes. Moving on, we've got another legendary, Tygam, Sidisi's Hand. This is a different Tygam. Andy, you discover. I didn't notice this. There's 2 Tygams now.
Oh, you didn't notice it?
No, I didn't. For some reason, like I was so excited to read new cards, I didn't even think about it.
Right on. Okay, so this one is Tygam, Sidisi's Hand, 3 blue-black, legendary human wizard. Skip your draw step. What? It's a 3/4 also, by the way. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Okay. Then black and tap him. Exile X cards from your graveyard. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. Yeah, right. I mean, this guy just mills on his own and gets you around things like Nekusar. Anything else that's going to punish you for drawing cards. This guy doesn't. He gets around that.
Yep.
Just for the original one, though, right? Because, yeah, it's just at the beginning of your upkeep. So it's just for your draw step. So actually, never mind. It's not that.
But you skip your draw step. So if people are making you draw multiple cards during your draw step, that won't matter.
It kind of sucks when people are like playing Howling Mine or anything else like before the Nekusar gets dropped.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. But, you do get that selection off the top, which is nice.
I just figured it out.
What?
So the reason there's 2 Tygams is one of them is from the timeline without dragons.
Exactly, yeah.
One of them is from the timeline with dragons. Cool.
Yes. One of them is one of them's Ojutai and one of them's I don't know.
Sidisi.
Sidisi, there you go.
Before he became a necklace. No, Tasigur became a necklace.
Tasigur became a necklace. Sidisi the dragon. No, not Sidisi.
No, Sidisi is a Naga.
Oh my god. It's the dragon, the big dragon who wears the necklace.
Silumgar.
It's Silumgar. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's from which, though. I guess the Ojutai one would have been from dragons, and this guy's from Khans.
Yes.
So this guy's from the Khans.
Because Ojutai is a dragon.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, Tygam, I think, is a wicked Dimir commander just in general. Filling up your graveyard while giving you nice card selection off the top of your turn is great. And I think that Exile X cards from your graveyard thing is just a cool bonus that you're going to use when it makes sense, right? When you have a bunch of lands or other things you're not going to recur in your graveyard and you're going to use those to kill someone. I think that's great.
I don't predict wanting to do that much, but it's nice to have it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think when your graveyard gets big, when it gets to be like 20 cards, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll exile 4 of these and kill something good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right. Okay. What do we have? Okay. What's that? So those are the legendary. So I love the 3 wizards plus this other wizard. Like, wow, what a great, like, these are great. I love it.
Yep.
Kind of bummed out that the vampires didn't get at least one other one,
Yeah, so weird.
So weird. Anyways, let's go to the next card.
Okay, so next card is the Galecaster Colossus. 5 blue for a giant wizard, 5/6. Tap an untapped wizard you control. That's the big wizard deal. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. What? You got a bunch of wizards out. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The biggest problem will be like choosing between this and Azami, like of what you want to do with your wizards. Am I tapping them to draw cards or am I tapping them to bounce things?
Yeah.
But a very cool ability. It itself is a wizard, and it also gets to be. It can tap itself the turn it comes down.
Yes. Wow.
Because of the way that
like every turn, like you can't keep it on the battlefield.
Yeah, Galecaster Colossus, huge in a wizard deck. I think pretty much only in a wizard deck, though.
I mean, yeah, without wizards, this guy does nothing.
Yeah, 7 mana, 5/6, whatever, right? Big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Next we have Magus of the Mind. I had to get a Magus in here. I'm happy that we got at least one. It's a 4/2 blue for a 4/5 human wizard. Pay blue and tap. Sacrifice Magus of the Mind. Shuffle your library, then exile the top X cards, where X is 1 plus the number of spells cast this turn. Until end of turn, you may play cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So this is the Storm card, Mind. What's it called? Man,
I don't know.
We put it in our.
I'm gonna look it up. It's got Mind and it has Storm.
It has, yeah. It we put it in our
Mind's Desire.
Mind's Desire. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's on a creature. You get to storm out, and then for blue, so you can have him stick around. I think it's like quite good because he's not a big enough threat that anyone's going to really want to use removal on him. And if they try to, then you can, I don't know, maybe if you are like kind of built around storm, you can kind of try and go off in that turn. I don't know. You can also do it off of other people's turns, which is fun. I don't know. I think this card's neat.
I do too. This is a bald guy that is not screaming, however. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't like that about it. I wish he was screaming.
Yeah. Okay, next up is the Portal Mage. 2 and a blue, human wizard, 2/2 flash. When Portal Mage enters the battlefield during the declare attacker's step, you may reselect which player or planeswalker target attacking creature is attacking. It's like Super Goad. You get to just pick everything for it.
Well, you don't get to make them attack, though.
That's true. You don't have to make them attack. But like, man, pretty neat.
So this goes in your like you're messing with combat deck 100%,
yeah.
Right? Like
I think so. It maybe not because it's a one creature, one time, one shot thing. I'm not sure if it does.
But you do run that instant that does the same thing, right?
But it does all your attacking creatures.
Oh, this is only target. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I do love the idea of painting a tunnel on the side of the mountain Wile E. Coyote style and tricking your opponents to running into it.
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Is this guy? Yeah, I don't know if the funny thing is like, oh, well, maybe I'll use it on a Voltron commander. It's like, well, quite often those Voltron commanders are hexproof, you know?
Yeah.
Which means you're not going to be able to target it with this.
Target attacking creature. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's just too narrow.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it, though. It's so hilarious. Like, it's just boop, and the little portal opens up.
Next, we have, in the Kindred cycle, Kindred Dominance. 5 black. Choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. This card is, honestly, just okay. And I'll tell you why. Because this card already exists in a better form as in Garrick's Wake. It's 5 black, and it just says destroy all creatures you don't control.
Yeah.
So this isn't even a big improvement on anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's.
I don't know why. Also, they know in Garrick's Wake exists. Why does this cost the same?
Exactly. Like make this cost 6.
Yeah.
If it costs 6, I think it's a lot better. The fact that it costs 7 is whatever. You've made this card before and better.
Hang on. No. In Garrick's Wake does cost 7 black.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's where I'm getting confused between the 7s here. So it costs 9. Okay. Well, they made it cost 7. Okay. All right. Then I guess that's a big enough improvement. 2 mana is pretty good.
Pretty good.
But also, this is not going to kill you pick demons. Like there might be another demon out there. If you're going to pick, sometimes it's going to save one thing that. But
yeah, the dragons.
You're still going to get the massive edge on it. Like, don't get me wrong here, but
the dragons get that one. What's it called? The 5 mana black.
Yeah, Crux of Fate.
Crux of Fate. So that's specifically to the dragon tribal, and it's only cost 5. So like they're the lucky tribe that gets that card.
Yeah.
If you're not dragon tribal, you can reproduce that effect, but for 2 additional mana. I mean, it's probably still worth running.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You're right. It's pretty good, but it is again these tribal cards, these tribal kindred sort of cycle has been very impressive. I think up to this point, this one is still good, but I'm just like less I don't know, stoked about it, I suppose.
Yeah, less stoked.
Less stoked. Still good, though. Yeah.
Next up, Vindictive Lich.
There we go.
3 and a black. Zombie Wizard. 4/1. When Vindictive Lich dies, choose one or more. Each mode must target a different player. So basically, you get to choose as many as you have opponents. So the first option is target opponent sacrifices a creature. The second option is target opponent discards 2 cards. And thirdly, target opponent loses 5 life. All of these, I mean, you're going to get to choose the best one for the best opponent.
Yeah. So
right?
That's good.
And you're going to do something to everybody. So that's okay too. I mean, I think it's all right. I like the fact that it's a 4/1, so it trades very aggressively. It deters a lot of attacking.
Yep.
A, because it'll probably kill your creature back, and B, because most people probably don't want it to die. Yeah. Oh. And if you're running a black sort of reanimate, sack something over and over, this is a fun one to sack over and over.
Definitely. I think that's where the value comes in. And really, this is a zombie tribal card. This is less wizardy and way more zombie.
Oh, huge.
And it is a zombie wizard, so it's great in that regard. So yeah, I think you're gonna put this in this is a new auto include in zombie decks because it's so easy to bring zombies back from the graveyard, obviously.
Yeah.
And any reanimator deck I think is gonna have a blast with this card. I think I want to put it in my Kheru deck just because I think it's gonna be fun. It's not even that it's not that powerful or anything, but I think it's just fun to do this.
I do think it's pretty powerful. Like, what I bet you would like it in play because you'd be like, well, here's a token player. It's like, well, don't give them the sack a creature one. Give that to the Voltron player, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Give the discard to the token player, or maybe give the discard to the control player. Give the 5 life to whoever's left. Sure.
Yeah, sure, exactly. I think this card's really good, really fun.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and next we have Isareth Chemister. 2 in a red for a goblin wizard. It's a 1/3 with haste, and it says pay red and tap it, exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and then pay 1 in a red and tap it, sacrifice Isareth Chemister, cast any number of cards exiled with Isareth Chemister without paying their mana costs. That seems pretty good. I think this, I'm just thinking about the fact that when you tap it to exile that first one, someone just kills it after that, and then you just exiled one of your own spells for nothing, really.
Yeah, but I mean,
or someone, you'd only do this on the previous player's end step. You would never do this anytime before that because if someone board wipes, you're also out of the card.
Yeah, and it gets scarier the more cards you have. They're more likely to do something to this card.
Gonna try and get you.
I think, and it's a weird, it feels pulling in 2 directions, because if I'm running a deck that wants to recur instants and sorceries, I don't want to be exiling them with this guy.
No, I know.
But if I just have a deck with good instant and sorceries and have no real recursion, this guy's a nice addition.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, if you can get it to be like hexproof or something, it obviously gets a lot better.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that kills it are board wipes, and I think you can be ready for that. You'll always be ready for that after the first time. Even then you can haste it. So yeah, I think I'd be interested to see how this works.
I think it's worth the risk because even if you just exile one crazy expensive nutty sorcery and then you sacrifice him, and because you can cast any number, that means you can do it at instant speed.
Yes.
So you can. So even if you just do one nutty sorcery and then just see if he untaps, so you can have it at all times. That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You exile one huge spell and get to play it for 3 mana or whatever it is. Cool. Yeah. This card has has a very high ceiling, obviously. I also think that there is a possibility for a very low floor on this guy.
Yeah, just finding it on the ground.
Yeah, not knowing anything about it, being just impressed with the art, sort of, and thinking I wonder what this is. Okay, next one here.
Shifting Shadow, last card, 2 in a red, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has haste and At the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and attach Shifting Shadow to it. Then put all other cards revealed this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it doesn't care about tribes. It just keeps turning into a new creature. You destroy the creature that it was. So if you have any interest in graveyard, that's a plus. But it'll just keep turning into something new every time. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Okay, here's the other thing. You can attach this to not your creature, right?
You can, but then they're getting...
They get haste.
But you control the creature.
No, because the creature gets it.
Creature gains it.
Yeah,
okay,
so
they will get...
That. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's where that comes in. So you really would only do this to your own creature. It has haste, and the creature gets the ability of at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature.
I mean, I think it's fair to be... Well, I mean, if your creature has indestructible, it won't be destroyed, but you will still put a new creature out, and Shifting Shadow will go on to that new creature. It doesn't require it to be successfully destroyed for that to continue.
Yeah, this is interesting. If you...
So if you hit your Ulamog...
Yeah, like there are like indestructible tribal decks, like quote tribal, right? That are out there. A lot of them are Boros, I know. This is an interesting card for that, but also just in general, I think it's like you were saying, like anything that wants to deal with graveyards, this is probably pretty fine on.
Well, get Kindred Boon out there too. So like put one of those divinity counters on it before this thing triggers. So then you got the next one shows up. And the army keeps growing.
This is definitely one of those commander cards also where it's like, it doesn't, like it looks, you kind of look at it and you're like, it's a lot of text and like, I don't know if the effect is that good. But then you see someone do it and you're like, oh man, I want that card.
Yeah. It's fun to try. Like, I mean, how many turns is a commander game, right? Like, I don't think you're in any real danger of like losing all your creatures. I mean, you're getting them in the battlefield for free with haste. So
and then you just,
not bad.
And you kind of want, you definitely want them in the graveyard. Like that has to be, I think, part of it.
I'm not sure. I think if you had enough ETBs, I think it's fine just getting those ETBs for free every turn. Because I'm for sure I've got like an Ulamog in there. Right. So this turns into an Ulamog out of nowhere, and I attack with Annihilator and haste. See you later.
Yeah, not bad. Can't argue with that. Cool. Well, I think that's it. That's it for the new cards in Commander 17. We didn't talk about reprints because, like we said, in the upcoming weeks we're going to be doing our budget upgrades to those decks, and that's where we'll talk about what cards that have been previously printed are in there and how good they are and whether or not they're going to stick around and so on. But overall thoughts on the decks? Are you happy with this set? Are you pleased with these cards?
So I mean, we'll go deeper in the Dragons episode, but I mean, for the Dragons specifically, I think they got a little bit lazy with the mana bases. They're not very interesting.
Right.
I think that whole curse cycle speaks to sort of what I would call a bit of a lazy deck building. They just kind of put one in every other deck. That being said, I think it's very interesting. They added some amazing cards just in general. I'm very excited for that. I don't know if I care to have more than one or two tribal decks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they all function differently enough, but I think I just might want to pick my favorite tribe and run with it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this earlier today, but I think that's kind of the same feeling I have too. Is like normally I'm very happy and excited to get all of the commander decks and mess around and build cards with all the new cards and stuff and the nice reprints and everything. But this time around, like the reprints aren't that impressive. And again, we'll talk about those in future episodes. But there's nothing really that jumps out at me as far as exciting that way. I do really like most of the new commanders.
Yes.
I like pretty much all of the new legendaries. I'm very high on. I think they're great. And I think in general, most of the new cards are pretty good. So, but like you said, I think
true.
I think I want to get cats.
I want dragons.
Or maybe
I think I want wizards.
I mean, here we go now. It's just like, well, we might as well get all of them then.
Yeah, right.
But like, I can see this definitely more as the set where I'd buy a lot more singles instead of just buying all the decks.
Maybe, but I mean, if that happens, if everyone's doing that, then the decks get pricey.
That's true.
But you know what I think that my other issue also is that like a lot of the previous commander decks, you could easily shift what the deck was doing by putting in a different commander. I don't think these do that as easily. Because if you switch to like Marisol, I forget, Marisol. If you switch there, like you kind of, you don't have to remove all the tribal stuff, but you probably should, because that's not what your focus is necessarily anymore. I mean, maybe not. I could try it out and find out. But
I think the only ones that stick like really hard to their, like if you change the commander, it still works tribally, I think are the cats. The cats.
But I guess what I'm saying is you have to be tribal though.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So like you're saying like the other commanders don't work quite as well because the rest of the deck is tribal and they don't need to be tribal. Yeah, they don't get any benefit from that. Whereas I'm saying Miri and Nazan, because of all the equipment and it still being a tribal equipment deck kind of still, like the cat deck is both cats and equipment tribal, right? So that's the one where you can swap out the things, and I think it still works just as well. But yeah, you're totally right? Like Lycia heading up a vampire tribal deck, it's like, there's some synergy I bet with life gain and stuff, but really there's nothing in there that is really going to push hard for that, I don't think.
Yeah,
we'll see.
If you want a Lycia deck, you kind of have to do a whole new deck.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
You don't just do a couple of card changes.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's going to be different, and we're going to sort of tackle that head on when it comes to our budget upgrades. We'll talk about the different possibilities of the commanders that come in the box and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, we'll talk about what are the top reprints we're getting and all that sort of stuff. So in the coming weeks, you'll be able to hear all that right here on Commander's Brew. And there's no, we're not going to, this is a review episode, so we're not doing an interview this time around, but in those coming weeks, there will be big time.
Oh, and we're putting, we got some special stuff planned for our interviews, so stay tuned.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll see you guys next week then.
Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.